Video is to teach you how to use a grid. Grids are very helpful when you're wanting to make a photorealistic image, either because you're wanting to duplicate what you've already drawn into a large size scale, or because you want to take a photograph and be able to draw it and have it look realistic. So let's transition down now so I can show you what this looks like. So the first thing to realize is I provide you aids to practice with. Some of you have experienced a grid before, but we still want to confirm that you know how a grid works before we move on to your drawing. Make sure you ask me for the drawing aids. Then you will number your drawing, so these technically will be gone. So you're going to number it going across. So I recommend pausing this video. Oh, I just wrote that 3 backward, upside down. And going and getting these drawing aids now so that you're doing this with me. Otherwise, this is a really long, boring video. Once you have numbered your grid, you will notice that this one is already numbered for you. Go ahead and pause your video and get yourself a white sheet of typing paper or sketch paper. Okay, once you have that paper, I want you to go ahead and lay it over top of the grid that I provided you, and you are going to trace one of those boxes. Once you're done tracing, go ahead and pause this video, get the blue X-Acto mat and an X-Acto blade, and you are going to cut that out. Alright, so you've cut out your square. Now you are going to create a little viewfinder effect. So it is important to divide the space in half all the way around, and then in half again, so you have fourth way lines. It should look essentially like this. This mark here divides this space in half, and this mark here divides this space in half. What we don't want is what you see here. This mark divides this in half, but see, that guy's really close to the edge. He's not dividing anything in force. Once you have that done, go ahead and pause the video, make sure you have that done. Okay. So now you have the drawing template. You are going to go ahead and put your grid over top of that drawing template. And then you are going to come over to this practice. Now you will notice that if you write on top of these black lines, they erase the black line. So try to avoid writing on my black lines if you can. Otherwise I have to redraw. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to go around and make little spokes so that you're dividing your space in half and then in force. We will use these as little guidelines. You're also going to make sure that you got one of these eraser pens. Then you're going to look at the box and you're going to notice the first thing we're doing is we have a line that's coming straight up into the halfway point. So we're going to draw a dot and we're going to draw straight up to the halfway point. Then this line comes all the way over, it tucks below the halfway point here, and then it's just about slightly past the fourth way point. So you're going to plot that dot, which is about there, and then you're going to connect it across, and it kind of arches. Then, as I look at this guy comes up to the halfway, and then past the fourth way to right about there. And then it comes up and almost to the halfway, or almost to the edge. Then I would move on to the next box. It's important when you get a straight line, sometimes people's gut response, notice I'm dividing my spaces, oops, that's in the wrong spot, is to want to look and see, like, where does that line go? And they want to plot where the line starts and where the line ends. But that's not the most accurate way, and that won't lead to a photo correct image. So it's important that you take the time to divide your spaces just like you did, to plot those points, and then connect across. What that is going to lead to if we kept going, so eventually I would get somewhere like this. By the time I had drawn this whole image over here, this is when technically as an artist we would transition to the light box, and I could take a ruler, and I'm going to take as many points as accurate as possible, so as many points as I can hit, and then that's where my line goes. That will be more accurate than if I had only plotted 2 points and then connected. This is getting the data from like 8. Once you've shown that you can do this really well, so go ahead and pause this video and complete this and then show it to me. You will then restart the video because you are ready to actually grid your project. Okay, you have been able to complete this as a practice to show that you understand the functionality of a grid. I then will have taken this sheet away and given you this grid paper to work off of for the day. You always have to return it to me at the end of class, but you don't have to make your own grid. Whatever photo collection you made or drawing or whatever it is you're wanting to draw gets slid inside here. Once it's in there, you do want to make sure that you number and letter your grid so that you know how big your drawing space needs to be. Once you have that figured out, you need to decide, am I making this 2 times bigger, 3 times bigger, 4 times bigger? You really want to make sure that you've solidified that out because that makes a difference as to the size of grid that you draw. So I'm going to pretend I am making it 2 times bigger. So as I think about that, that means that I have a grid that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches by 1, 2, 3, 4 inches. So I need to take that 4 times 2, which gets me 8, and I need to take that 5 times 2, which gets me 10, which means that I need a piece of paper that is at least 8 by 10. Lo and behold, I have one. So you then are going to get yourself, a ruler. It is going to have clear, consistent measurements on it, which can sometimes be a trick in the art room. And you're going to get yourself a really nice, cleanly sharpened pencil. You are going to hold that pencil from the back edge, not the front, because we want to put no pressure on this pencil at all. We are going to carefully line up our ruler so that if it has a 0 line, we're starting right at the 0 line. If it's the edge of the ruler, we're starting right at the edge of the ruler. We are making sure that our ruler is not crooked, but it is straight with the paper. And then, why does that paper look funky? Oh, it's because it's got a bend in it. Then, if I'm making a 2-inch grid, every 2 inches, I'm going to make a mark. And I am pushing as light as I possibly can on my ruler. And I'm going until I hit 10. Ooh, golly. Oh, line everything back up. 10. Okay. Then I'm going to lift up my ruler. I am not twisting my paper. No twisting of paper. I'm lifting my ruler. And I'm moving it over here. Okay, I recommend pausing the video and doing your first set of lines and then coming back to this video. Okay, so you've made your first set of lines. You now have picked up the ruler and moved it over. You have not twisted your paper. Your ruler is lined up very carefully on the edge again, so it's absolutely perfect aligned. And then this time you are making marks peeking out from the ruler. You are pushing as light as possible on your pencil, not really pushing at all. And I'm pushing so light that you might not be able to see my lines unless I held it up close. That's what we're looking for. Once I've made my lines going that way, now I get to twist my paper and repeat. I'm lining up my ruler, and I'm making my marks. 2, 4, 6, 8. I'm also very I'm very conscientious that I am marking off of the ruler line and that I'm pulling away from the ruler. I would never want to push against the ruler because that could mean it could be any one of these marks. So I'm really conscientious about that. I'm finding the inch line. I'm then picking up my ruler, moving it down to the bottom of the page, lining it up very carefully, and making my marks. 2, 4, 6, 8. I then am very carefully lining my ruler up. Now here's an important note. Students, I'll find them and they're doing this. They're crossing their hand over the other hand to draw. That is a huge no-no, and it's how you make mistakes. So it's like Ghostbusters. You cannot cross the streams, okay? It leads to bad things. I can't remember the line in the movie. So we don't cross the streams, Ray. We you said not to cross the streams, right? So, sorry, I think I'm delightful. Instead, I twist my paper. Now notice, I will be able to line up my ruler. I'm very carefully lined up. I'm going to be able to make my mark, and my hands are not going to cross. I'm pushing as light as I can on my pencil, and then I'm moving on to the next mark. I would go all the way down, not pushing on my pencil, so it's really super light, all the way down. I could then twist my paper, and I will go all the way down. That will leave me with a grid. I would then very carefully make sure that I numbered and lettered my grid. Notice in my case, I had to put my lettering and numbering in a different spot, but that's still okay. This is still box 1A, and this is still box 1A. So, wait, did I just do that wrong? No, I did it right. Far corner, far corner. Okay, once I had my grid totally drawn, I pretended this is my beautiful, happy drawing. I'm super proud of it. This is not your final piece of art. Artists never use this as their final piece of art because we want our art to look effortless. Like I say, we just pooped it out. It was beautiful the moment it came out, right? So how do we do that? We cheat. Those light boxes are not for us to trace other people's ideas. Those light boxes are for us to trace our own idea. If I now took this to the light box and traced it, it would look gorgeous, beautiful. All of that effort and work to make it a beautiful drawing has disappeared. And now this is the copy I could shade and make lovely. Make sure to speak up if you need help or if you're still struggling with ruler usage and your grid appears crooked.